Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome to the Slightly Warped Podcast. I'm Rick, joined as always by Big Show. How you doing, Show?
I'm doing okay. How about yourself, my friend?
Not bad, not bad at all. We didn't catch too much slack with last week's episode. Things that men need to hear. I have a feeling that it might be a little different um, for this week's episode. The second half of that, things that women need to hear. Um, Here's the thing, though. The most comments I got from people here and there. To summarize, I got a few saying I checked it out, and I don't do all that, but I talked to my girl or I talked to my wife or whatever, and she agreed with a lot more than I thought that I was doing wrong. So it became some talking points. If not at least to us, talking points to each other. And I say that because I don't want any of the women out there today to think that we are women bashing today. We are not. We are doing the exact same thing with the exact same intent this week to open up dialogues with your significant other and, you know, just trying to make things better. I don't, and I didn't put the number of things on either show because we might have an extra one here or there, just like we did last week for the men. But it is also very important that whether you're listening on a podcast feed or watching us here on YouTube and live and in living color, jump in those comments. Let us know what you think. Men, tell us if we're spot on. Women, tell us if we're wrong about a few things. I mean, that's what this is for. We're not paid professionals. We're just throwing out our honest opinion. That's what this podcast is about. Show
We're
do you,
not paid professionals yet.
yet, just like he said. All right, so these are things that women need to hear. And if you're a guy, keep watching because we might stumble on one or more that your woman is doing. Let her hear this podcast so that she'll know. So it's not just for one sex or the other. It benefits both. So I'm going to start. Women, stop being overly critical. And this is not just a relationship thing. Yeah, you don't want to be overly critical of your man, but you don't want to be overly critical of yourself either. I know a lot of women that are very self-deprecating, and you don't need that. That's not attractive on a man, it's not attractive on a woman. It's okay to be confident, just not overconfident, but don't be overly critical. Big Show.
Give an example of what you mean by that.
Okay, in a relationship, a good example will be, well, you never do this, you never do that. You're being overly critical. Even if that person doesn't ever do this or that, there's a way you can say it. There's a way you can come across. And I get, what's that saying? You can catch more flies with honey.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a way you can say things, both men or women, in a relationship that will spur that other person on instead of push them further away.
Good. Okay. That makes sense. Um, One of mine on my list would be, and I'm assuming we're talking relationship wise.
It can be relationship, just like last week. It could be relationship, it could be family, it could be anything. This is just anything that you think of that a woman needs to hear.
Ladies, if you really want your fella to open up and you ask him the hard questions
Mm-hmm.
and he feels safe and comfortable enough to share said emotions with you. Don't ever, double underline, exclamation point, weaponize what he says against him in a
Mm,
later conversation. If you do, he will never open up to you ever again.
damn, I like that. And before I go to mine, I want to talk about that one for a second because I know I'm not going to say all women. I'm not even going to say a lot of you women, but the majority of you women need to really understand that one. And I know you probably don't believe that you're doing anything harmful, but men can be emotional too, just in a different kind of way. And if you hit a man where it hurts, he's not going to give you another chance to hit him again. I guarantee it. All right. Piggybacking off of that one, I'm going to go with this. Ladies, please stop nagging about small issues. Uh, Good example of this one. Um, why don't you ever do this? You're never on time. You never do this. You never take me here. Or it could be something simple. You never take out the trash when I want it done. Well, damn, the trash is gonna get there. Just don't nag about it. And if trash day is on a Tuesday, I don't want to hear about it on Sunday, even Monday morning. We'll get to it. We promise we will. If we got to run out there to beat the guy Tuesday morning, we're still going to get to it. Don't nag.
And I'm gonna piggyback off of that with my next one. But it's kind of like a twofold. Well, you know what? No, I'm gonna save the next one but to piggyback on that,
Mm-hmm.
ladies, us men are very, 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 very simple creatures. Very simple.
Very.
It it doesn't take a whole lot to I mean, we're very egocentric. You know, you stroke our ego every now and then. You'll be surprised that that man that you're looking for or wanting us to be just shows up in front of you. Um, but just piggybacking off the taking the trash thing, if you tell us that we're the sexiest trash taker outers in the entire world, I guarantee you we'll be skipping to the trash can with that trash bag. It's those little things like that
Mm-hmm.
that would just words of affirmation. Men thrive off of that. And any man that tells you that he doesn't is lying to himself.
Yes, he is. I like that. Okay. It's going to start getting a little deeper right now. Please, ladies, stop showing jealousy without reason. And please, I'm going to repeat that sentence because you need to hear the end of it. Stop showing jealousy without reason. If y'all are at a restaurant and 9 times out of 10, it's a female waitress and she smiles at him, that's her job. She's not making a pass at your man. Let that shit go. Stop being jealous for no reason.
Hell, even if it's a strip club, it's a stripper's job to smile as well. No need to get jealous. I digress. Um, that one caught me off guard. That one was kind of funny. Ladies, whether you're married or you're dating, remember that that man is your partner and not your child.
Mm, I like that.
Um, you don't need to bark orders or things like that. Now, if he is not meeting XYZ emotionally, physically, financially, whatever, you can communicate that, but don't try to uh, be a parent to him because he's not your kid. He's not your son. He's your husband. He's your boyfriend. He's your partner. Just remember that when communicating what he is doing wrong in your eyes. Delivery is everything.
Oh yes,
And that
definitely.
goes both ways. It goes both ways. Men, you are not their father either. She is your she's your side post. She's the one you lean on. She's the one that sees things that you can't. You about to say side. She thought I was gonna go somewhere else with that.
Yes, I
Uh
did.
she's your rock. She's your stability. She's your anchor in this world. So remember that as well.
Please. And I'm gonna reiterate before we go any further. Again, this is not to piss any women off or anything like that. This is healthy stuff that needs to be shared partner to partner, both episodes, both ways. Um, this will make your relationships stronger, not worse, but better. Speaking
And
of,
and
oh, go
and
ahead.
don't take anything that we say as a direct shot at you, or men, we're not direct shooting at you. Women, we're not directly shooting at you. These are just things that, through our conversations with our fellas, with our friends, with our boys, when we get together and we talk about life, these are the things we talk about. And men don't share this information like they should.
Speaking of sharing, this one that I want to go to, um, women, please, 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 um, stop oversharing intimacy details with your friends. We know y'all gonna talk. It's gonna happen. Men talk, women talk. We get it. But there's a line, and there's certain things that you should not share, um, about your man, uh, with any of your friends. What would be a good example of that? I would say something like, since we're talking intimacy issues, let's just say Johnny is not as well endowed as the rest of us. You don't want to share that. Believe me, just because you tell X, Y, and Z this information, they are going to look at Johnny a lot differently, um, every time they see him, and he's going to wonder why. Or it could be something that you think is not even, shouldn't be an issue. Oh, he just doesn't satisfy me the way he used to. That right there, that's something you discuss with your man, not your friends, especially in a nonchalant, or I don't want to say degrading, but a demeaning way.
I'm going to push back on that just a little bit. In my opinion, I don't care. Share away. If you're with your friends and they're your confidants and you need the soundboard, by all means, soundboard. I don't care. That doesn't bother me. If you keep it to if you just tell them and don't communicate it with your guy, then you know nothing will ever change. And that goes the other direction. Men, if you're not happy in that area with your partner, don't just tell your boys. I mean, it's okay because we all need somebody to talk to, but communicate it and see if you guys can get through it or come to some sort of agreement where everyone is somewhat happy.
All right. What you got next?
I mean, I don't want to continue to just, it sounds like we're just, you know, do this, do this, do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do that. I mean, and that's not what I wanted to come off as. Um, but I'm going to kind of start leaning towards both sexes on
Mm-hmm.
mine.
Okay.
And even when you trust someone, like we were just talking, keep some things to yourself.
Yeah.
Don't uh don't just tell everybody everything. There are some things that you need to keep to yourself, even from your partner.
Yeah.
Some
Now,
things just need to be internal.
I agree with you. And looking at what I have left on my list, yeah, it can go both ways as well, except for the next one that I'm going to bring up. That one I would say is more female oriented than male oriented, but we'll get there.
Okay. I have like was it 7 more short ones that could
I
go either way. If you want to build something worthwhile, you need to be ready for criticism.
Yeah, okay. Um, I like that because I have one that was similar about constructive criticism, but going back to that very first one I did, don't be overly critical. I mean, please, by all means, tell your significant other what they need to know, not just what they want to hear, and then don't beat them over the head with it. So I agree with you on that.
And vice versa. Men don't beat them over the head with it.
No, no. You know, I'm gonna get this.
Um.
I'm gonna get this female oriented one out of the way here.
Okay.
Using intimacy as a reward,
Mm,
and
mm.
say what you will, there are a lot of women that will do that. Oh, if I give him some, he'll let me do this or we'll do that. And you're using intimacy as a reward.
Or he didn't do something, so
Mm,
I'm not going to.
yes.
Um.
And
On that aspect, life happens. Okay,
mm-hmm,
and we all age, so things change. Our bodies change.
mm-hmm,
Um. So I would say on yours, it really depends on the relationship status. If you're married and
mm-hmm.
the Bible says you're equally yoked, then no, your body belongs to her, her body belongs to you, so saith the Lord. Okay? That's in the Bible.
Yes.
Um, but if you're dating, there's a gray area of whether you give them your body or not, whether you see fit. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
So with that one, to me, it really depends on relationship status. But if you are sincere and you plan on spending your life and that's your soulmate or whatever, then yeah, don't ever sex, intimacy, however you call it, is never a reward system.
Yeah.
And
Because
women do not need sex to be intimate. Men do. That's the difference. Men need to
see,
feel wanted.
this is
Women can
why.
go out the door. Women can go out the door, and every man, or I can't say every man, but she can choose who she wants to have sex with, any man she wants to do it with at any given time. Nobody will ever tell her no. A man has sex with who allows him to have sex with him. There's a difference.
Please repeat that. That that's
Okay.
that's deep.
Women can go out the front door and have sex with whomever they want, whenever they want. Men can only have sex with the women that allow that to happen. So don't use that as a reward system because of the nature of that right there. Your man will feel less of a man when you do that. He will be a shell of himself.
Yeah, and that goes right up there with earlier. at the top of the show, you mentioned weaponizing things. That can also be used
Yes.
as a weapon.
Yes.
I like that.
But also in this day and age, men will just say, you know what? There's other women out there.
Yeah.
What did what's that old joke that Cat Williams used to say? Or who if you don't do it, there's some we all know some raggedy bitch that do it, and we all got the phone number. That I mean that was the joke, but it's true. Take care of your fella, and if there's scenarios where things can happen and things change over time. I get that, and I respect that, and as long as the communication thing is out there, don't just not.
Yeah. And if you have a really good man, if you take care of your man, I guarantee he's going to take care of you.
Most deaf.
Again, I said a really good man. So, if you're being a good woman, he's got to be a good man. So,
And even if you don't feel like your man is a good man, start treating him like a good man. And like I said, that good man will appear in front of you. Now, that coin also is reversed.
mm-hmm,
There Zig Ziglar. For those people that don't know who Zig Ziglar is, he's one of the most famous public speakers, motivational speakers.
mm-hmm,
He's long since passed, but he was in real estate and things like that. But he had on one of his books or audios that I heard one time, he was talking about a prince, coming into this town, and it was custom for the dad to to be paid certain livestock for the daughters to marry, whoever. So if I wanted to marry the next door neighbor, hey, I'll give you two chickens and a pig, and I want your daughter, and that was the basically the thing.
mm-hmm,
Well, this father had she wasn't beautiful, she wasn't ugly, she was just she was just a regular old woman, and the prince came in and offered the dad 10 cows, which was an astronomical amount of livestock at that particular time,
mm-hmm,
to marry his daughter, and he did it. And they went together and all that, and somebody asked Prince, why did you pay 10 cows for her when you could have got her for two chickens and a goat? You know what I'm saying? And he was like, well, I treated her as a 10 cow wife. And that's, once I treat her like that, that's what she is. She's that rich. She's that valuable to me.
I like
But,
that analogy, man.
yeah, you treat them like they're supposed to be treated or like how they deserve to be. And that will be in front of you.
All right. So from this
That's what
point
will
forward, if
appear.
you're ever watching the podcast and we talk about our significant others as a 10 cow woman, we mean nothing but good things. Nothing but good
That's
things.
right. That's right.
Hey, please, ladies, don't bring up the past.
Men don't do that either.
If, well, what's done is done. If you've resolved it, there's no reason to bring it up. What's done is done. I mean, again, we hate to use that word, but we're gonna. If you're bringing up something that's dead and buried, you are once again weaponizing.
Most deaf. Um, these are going to be more generic moving forward.
Yeah,
Unless you say something that sparks something.
I think mine are
Um,
too. So you're good.
just remember, not everything in your relationship, in your life, will go according to plan. So be ready to adapt and be capable of adapting to said scenario. Don't dwell on, like you said, the past. What's done is done. No business on, no outstanding relationship, no business has ever just done the same thing over and over and over again and got more successful. They adapted with the times, you know. Um, Look at the U.S. Post Office. I mean, they strictly just did mail, and now they're doing mail. They're actually doing more Amazon packages than actual snail mail.
Mm.
So if they didn't adapt, they would be stuck. And people like FedEx, UPS, they would have taken over that whole genre. But they adapted, got their foot in the door, and they're still viable. It's kind of like fishing. If worms don't work, go to minnows. If minnows don't work, go to cut bait. If cut bait don't work, go to stink bait. If all else fails, throw a jig out there. There's always something you can do to catch a fish.
I like that. All right. Please, 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 when it comes to your significant other, support their personal goals. Um, if Jimmy wants to be a ditch digger, make sure he knows he can be the best ditch digger that ever dug ditches. If
And not only that,
Tanya,
but the sexiest ditch digger.
yeah, there you go. It, if Tanya wants to, or Tanisha, whoever, just throwing a name out there, if she really, really, I'm gonna throw something realistic out there. If she really, really wants to use her singing, and she can sing, support her. Listen to her music. Um, Help her see if you can find some connections. You know, even if you don't have nothing to do with it, even if she just wants to talk about her day at her 9 to 5 job and something that made her proud or something that made him proud, listen intently, focus, and appreciate the other person and what they're doing.
Um, I agree, with the exception of as long as they are not being detrimental to themselves
Oh,
in their
yes. Oh,
life.
yes.
If they're doing, I want to be whatever, and I'm going to give up everything to do it. Maybe still gas them up, right? Still hype them up. Everybody needs a hype man.
Yeah.
Still gas them up, but also go back to that constructive criticism we were talking about. I say, hey, while you're getting ready to do this, maybe you should do this as well. So you try to keep a balance, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense.
And then, if they listen to you, they listen to you. If they don't, they don't, you know? It's kind of like that. I've seen that video where it talks about, giving advice and things like that. The fruit tree, the pear tree, the pear isn't for the tree. You know what I mean? It's
Mm-hmm.
for the people that walk by. So, your gift that God gave you isn't for you. It's for everybody else. So
I like
just
that.
make sure that, when you are and somebody is gassing you up, don't just ignore what they're saying. Or if you are trying to help them with their gift and they ignore what you're saying or don't agree with what you're saying, still support them. Don't be critical. And going back to relationships too,
Yes, sir.
it is okay, ladies, it is okay for your significant other, your husband, men, your wives, it is okay for them not to agree with your opinion. It doesn't mean that you're wrong and they're right, or they're right and you're wrong. It doesn't mean that. It just means you don't agree, and that's okay. It is okay to disagree.
Very okay. I mean, that's the whole term. Agree to disagree. You may not see
Hmm.
eye to eye on 50% of anything, but that's okay. If you were the exact same as your significant other, one of you would be useless. So,
True.
think
I,
about
I
that.
mean, I'm already useless, so I'm just here
Hey,
to sit here and look pretty.
Well, while you looking pretty, I got one more I want to get out there, and I think this one might kind of sort of lean more towards women, not 100% women, but more towards women than men. Please, please, please stop overusing social media. What do you mean by that, Ricky? All right. If you want to, plaster your picture on every feed that you got out there, you go right ahead. But I am so sick and tired of seeing people use filters and AI, and that's all they do. And you know damn well that's not you. By the time artificial intelligence done got done with it, uh, it is so far removed from who you really are. Be who you are. Be who you are. And I put pictures of me on social media, and my ugly ass is going to be there until the day I die, gray hair and all, because that's who I am. Um, if y'all don't love them pictures, somebody out there gonna love them pictures.
True, true. Um, this one is universal.
Okay.
This last one I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna say it like it's written, but I want to preface it that it is easier said than done. Okay, it's
Mm-hmm.
easier said than done. You can always choose to be happy no matter what happens in your life. Being sad should never be an option.
That's right.
Easier said than done. Now, are you saying, hey, show, does that mean I can never be sad? No, that's not what it means.
That means don't
Life,
stay there.
life's. Life be lifing. Okay. Crap happens. It's kind of like, don't waste your time stressing about the things you can't control. When you stress about those things that you can't control, guess what? You're sad. But you're choosing to stay in that. And there are some people out there, and myself included, that go through these phases where you feel like there is no out, and you can't there's not one thing that you can put your finger on that says this is the reason why I'm sad, or this is the reason why I feel this way. It's a multitude of everything's, and just because you fix one doesn't mean the other six are going to work. I understand that. But if we slowly choose to make little changes to try to get us out of whatever it is, eventually you will turn that ship around. It's kind of like the Titanic missing the iceberg. The reason why
Mm-hmm.
it hit is because it had too small of a rudder, so it couldn't turn as fast. That's how we are in our life. We just have to, when we see that iceberg, we got to start turning sooner.
There you go. I like that. Oh, before we get out of here, let me preface one more time. This is for everybody. Um, this one was specifically to the women, but it goes, like Showa said, both ways. And these are not meant to slam or bring anybody down. Totally the
Not at
opposite.
all.
We're here to lift
Yes.
each other up. And whether you listen to it yourself and talk to your spouse or significant other about it, or whether you listen together, um, do it with love. Do it with love. All right,
Yeah,
show.
that's
You got
what
anything before we
we're
get out of
all
here?
we're always coming from a place of love. These things that we bring, not only do we talk about them, but it's a place to where, it might open up an avenue for you to communicate with your significant other, your spouse, your mate, or it could be like, "Oh, that's why he said that," or "Oh, that's why he's acting this way,"
Mm-hmm.
or "Oh, that's why she's doing that. That's why she said that," type of thing. It's just little things that we read, we see, that we're just spreading it. We didn't come up. These are not all universal things that we just thought of. These are things that we've researched on the internet and things like that that we're just pointing out on our show.
Agreed.
But I appreciate you guys checking us out for another week. We love you guys. Appreciate you watching. Remember, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that little bell so when my man ding, you hear the ding ding. We're on there. And yeah, love each other. Tomorrow is not promised.
Amen. We'll see you next week.
Peace.